Hey guys, can you add Daniel too? Hello? Oh, there you go.
Yo, what's up, you guys? Good evening
Hey
and
guys.
welcome. Welcome again to another AMA with the YGG community. My name is John Sedano, Community Marketing Manager for Yield Guild Games, and with my partner, Saratobi. How you doing, man?
Very good as always, John. Pleasure to be on. Excited for this one. Big fan of Big Time, and looking forward to having a second chat with these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it's my one of my first AMAs with YGG was actually big time, and man, it's been a while.
Mhm.
And look, I mean, we've come this far, and we're closer to the game, closer to the release, and yeah, we have a star-studded team once again tonight. I mean, we have Ari, we have Thor, and Daniel. So yeah, guys, do the honors of introducing yourselves. Go for it.
Sure. Thanks for having us here, guys. I'm Ari. I'm co-founder and CEO at Big Time, and previously co-founder at the Central.
I'm Thor,
Awesome.
Chief Product Officer here at Big Time.
I'm Daniel, Director of
Thor.
Monetization at Big Time.
Awesome, awesome.
That's really awesome, guys. I mean, obviously, we've been very much interested in Big Time for quite a long time now. We've had our initial AMA. We've recently just announced the partnership and the investment into the time machines, obviously, which is going to be super exciting. Now, for those in the audience that obviously haven't had the elevator pitch for Big Time, it would be great just to give a quick, super high level overview for those in the audience that aren't aware. I'm sure they're probably few and far between right now, but if for those that aren't fully aware of what Big Time is, it would be great to have a little breakdown.
Sure. Thor,
Guys.
would you like to?
Sure. So, Big Time is a love letter to fans of Harry Potter and Doctor Who. It's a time travel action RPG where you start off in the ordinary world, travel to the end of time, and go to a school called Evermore Academy to learn to be a time traveler to save history. The gameplay itself is like the best of Diablo 2 meets World of Warcraft. So, we're taking all that great core Diablo loop, fight bigger monsters, get better loot, and then adding in a lot of the open world and a lot of the social aspects and the multiplayer aspects from Diablo. So that you can go get 5 of your friends together, form a party, go into instance adventure areas throughout time, and you get to go to all these cool places like dinosaurs versus cowboys, Nazis and alien space weapons, ninjas and giant robots. So we're having a lot of fun just mashing up history to come up with something really new and exciting for people to check out.
Wow, that
Yeah,
sounds incredible. I have to say, like as a fairly kind of dedicated Diablo 2 player, one thing that instantly springs to mind then is classes, because have you guys kind of had a bit of a thought about like different classes within the game? Are you going to have like some clearly distinctive classes, or how does the kind of skill tree how do you kind of see the skill tree kind of component working?
Yeah, so that's where we blended a little more of the Diablo or the Warcraft style into Diablo, where we wanted more of these classes where you play together instead of just stand in the same area and kind of play the game. So we have 4 core classes. They're the Time Warrior, the Chronomancer, which is our take on a mage, the Fixer, which is our take on a battlefield medic healer, and then the Shadow Blade, which is our super cool Time Ninja class.
I like the sound of that
So
time Ninja. No, that sounds awesome.
Time Ninja. Yeah. So you've got, the best that you're used to, right? With your tank, your damage dealer, your healer, and your stealthy guy. And then you do have that Diablo style of skill trees where you are going to these different class trainers. And the cool part from the story is that class trainers are like the greatest heroes and the greatest minds from history. So you've got Albert Einstein is the school's headmaster. He's like our Dumbledore. And then you've got Genghis Khan teaching people how to be time warriors. You've got cool characters like Benjamin Franklin teaching people how to be the Fixer class. So we're having a lot of fun with that. And then you go to them, that's how you get your skills, kind of Diablo style. You have Diablo-ish skill trees that you're
Who's going to be the shadow?
Through the game.
Who's going to be the Shadow Blade teacher though? That's what I want to know.
We haven't announced that one yet.
Yeah. Oh,
so that's a mystery, but it's very cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, like we've actually have like a lot of progress, from the last time that Ari and Doug was here. I mean, now we even have, pockets of different communities like from all over the world just, coming together, like waiting for updates. But I mean, yeah, it's been really good to see like all of these updates, even, like alpha footage. And oh yeah, as you mentioned, Thor, like you've announced Einstein as one of the major characters in the game. Like these little like bits and pieces, is slowly putting the whole story of a Big Time like finally together as we approach the launch of the game. But now I'm pretty curious because like in terms of the game, like it's grown. But on your end, in with the team of Big Time, I'm pretty sure that you guys have been ramping up, on building your side of things. Now, I mean, I would want to ask. So, what are there any updates on the team? Have you guys got like any new hires? Like what's happening on your side of things?
Well, Daniel is here with us. He's a pretty recent addition to the team. Maybe I'll let Daniel introduce himself and his background.
Yeah, sure. So I joined back in August. I was at Activision and then Blizzard before that for a few years. And I'm just really excited to see how can we incorporate blockchain into an action RPG, which I'm a really big fan of too. But I'm just one of the many new hires we've had, and we've had our team build out. We've had developers come on board. We've had folks from our marketing side come on board. So that's how we're able to get so much more content out to the public. So overall, it's been a wild ride the last few months.
Yeah, I totally, I bet, man. Like, I bet, like, with all the content that's being pushed out. I mean, so now I want to ask, like, something, like, very specific about, like, one of the features that you just very recently announced. So from the last time you guys were here, we didn't really have, like, an idea of, like, what levels do we have, how it's going to be, like, the whole gameplay and everything. But you posted an article just very recently on your Medium about using procedurally generated levels. So what was the thought process, like, in coming up and deciding that we're going to be doing this for the games, for the levels, for the stages?
Yeah, I can take that one. So it's 2 parts. One part on the game design side and one part on the game production side. I'll do the game production first. So we're a fairly small team. We're not 300 people taking 6 years to make a game. So we needed a system that fits us that way. So we didn't need to employ an army of level designers and an army of artists to build everything. So we look back at how people were making games 20 years ago and doing it with really small teams. And one of the projects we really looked at was Diablo and Diablo 2, and they used a similar system. So we said, how do we take that from 2D and bring it into 3D for a modern game? And that's where the game design piece came in, which turned out super cool. So the way the system works, basically it strings together a bunch of really small Unreal levels. So we build what we call tile sets and tile pieces. And then these tile pieces are everything that we need to procedurally string together a level, be it like a cool hallway or an entrance or a room full of traps or a bridge across a chasm. And then the system, it's not randomly generated, it's procedurally generated, which means the system has a lot of smarts to it and how it figures out when it's asked for a specific quest, how to give you a map that best fulfills that quest. So we're going to be doing some demos with that in the future, and it's a really cool feature we want to show off.
Awesome. I mean, like Saratobi, like you being an avid gamer as well, like I'm pretty sure you've encountered, other products or other games that, are actually like using procedurally generated levels. I mean, what are your thoughts in this? Like now it's going to be actually in big time. It's not only, speed up the whole process of releasing the game, but at the same time, basically you have AI helping us out build this huge of a project.
Yeah, I definitely see it as something that's going to assist when you're trying to build out these huge kind of worlds. I mean, how many kind of players you kind of foresee existing in a single instance or kind of a server as such?
Yeah, so we have 3 different styles. You have the core game, which is 6-player dungeon instances. So that's very Diablo-like, where it's you and your 5 best friends against hordes of monsters. And then we have the overworld level, which is more Diablo-like, where it's you and hundreds of other players running around fighting bigger but fewer monsters at once. And then there's the Epoch City, which is the social world, which is you and hundreds of players and NPCs where there's no combat. And each one of those instances at different levels, the way it works is you're making a trade-off between the amount of AI and the amount of players in a scene. Because you can only handle so many messages back and forth from all these different entities together. So if you want to have lots and lots and lots of people in a scene, then you don't have any AI. If you want to have lots and lots of AI, then you have fewer people. And it's working out really cool. We'll be introducing and talking more about the overworld and showing that off in the coming months.
That's really interesting. I mean, one of the things that I got from that was in terms of where does the PvP aspect occur, because obviously at the dungeon layer that sounds like quite a kind of cooperative mode where you're obviously fighting together as a team, and then on the I'm assuming that maybe does some of the kind of PvP like player versus player combat occur at the kind of overworld level?
So our current plan is PvE only. So there isn't a direct PvP for early access. Being a small team, we've got to pick our battles. So that was when early on we said, hey, we can do a really good job at PvE, or we can do a really good job at PvP. We can't do a really good job trying to do both at once. So let's pick the one that's best for our game to start with, and then figure out how the other one fits in down the road. And, kind of coming from really leaning heavily into our love for Diablo, that was an easy choice. It was like, sure, Diablo had PvP, but it wasn't like really great PvP. It was just really clickfest. Who has the most potions lives at the end. So we said, we don't want to just do something cheap like that. Let's figure out how to add really cool PvP and later on really cool guild versus guild into the game.
Now that's something
and
that
figure
would be
out how to
see.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that more next year. Again, it's like, picking your battles and figuring out what's the right order to build things in, and not box yourselves in so that you can't build something great later.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
I totally agree. I mean, speaking of the next steps in developing the game. So now I've actually heard before about the time machine concept, and now it's actually one of the features that you guys have been pushing. Not only mentioning YGG's partnership with you guys, that the community is very excited about and wants to hear more about. But before we get into that, so my question is, so how does the time machine concept actually really work? So it's like a personal, I don't know, like your personal space in big time. Does it is that how it works?
Yeah, I can take that one, and then Daniel can add a little more on the token economy on the back end. The whole idea is, as you're playing the game, after you get in for a little while, you unlock your own personal time machine. Personal pocket universe is the official name in the lore.
Okay.
Um, and then everybody can get one, and then it has a basic amount of space, and you can use that to travel around. And then we have this cool new NFT called Space, which is kind of our take on what we did at Decentraland with land. And then people can buy space or acquire space in NFT drops to expand their time machine's basic footprint. And then it's your personal hideout and hangout where you can have your friends come out, you can get cool items to decorate it. And then there are cool new special items that have utility that you use. And that's where things like the Forge and the Timekeeper come in. So it's super cool. We've seen other games do the non-NFT version of this. The two that come to mind are the hideouts in Path of Exile, and Fallout 76 had these cool camps that people really loved. And we think it's going to be one of the most loved features of the game. And the cool part about it is when you take it to the extreme, you can build really large, really cool places.
Awesome.
Daniel, do you want to talk a little bit about the Timekeeper?
Yeah, for sure. So essentially, when we were looking at how do we implement blockchain with an ARPG, we looked essentially at two areas that we want players really engaging in. One is what we've been discussing with, hey, going to instances, going to Epoch City, and as you're going through the traditional, game experience of killing monsters, getting better loot, there's a chance that some of the loot might be NFTs. And it's a free-to-play game. So really we want to have that entry point really player-friendly because we want to get the traditional gamer into our ecosystem. The other side is the time machine. And what our take on the time machine is essentially what Thor was saying. Everyone gets one at some point in their leveling process, a starter time machine. And what you can do is then you can increase the space of your time machine using NFTs called Space. They come in different sizes or different rarities. We'll be announcing more information very, very soon. And our take on this section was more, hey, the truth is people are in their pocket universe. They can build in 3D, they can build outwards. They have a lot of, they don't have to worry about bumping into neighbors essentially. But what can they do with this? And that's what we're thinking of, hey, let's introduce more blockchain elements to this side of the game. Let's introduce a timekeeper. And what's the timekeeper do? Is like, well, obviously tokens will be a major part of the game. And they're going to have some really cool utility in the game that we will be announcing in the coming weeks or months. And but we want to make sure that it's not just, hey, pop into the game, immediately start earning tokens. We want to make sure that we make sure that your time machine has really good utility. So we created this NFT called the Timekeeper. And what the Timekeeper is essentially a mysterious being. You can earn or buy one. A lot of NFTs that you can buy, you'll be able to find in the game. You can install it in your space. So your time machine's growing. You have all these different spaces. You can install your Timekeeper. And you say, hey, Timekeeper, can you craft me an hourglass? And what this hourglass allows you to do is as the sands are running, as you're going through that core loop of killing monsters and bosses and finding good loot, now you have a chance to earn tokens. So it kind of acts as that bridge between the main game experience and your time machine. And yeah, you're gonna want that hourglass with you because then you can go play like the really good experience with your party, and now you have a chance to earn tokens. So that's one of the things that you can do in Space. The idea is this will probably be one of the initial introductions to the blockchain space for players. And Space then, like your time machine as it's growing, we're going to be introducing more features for, Thor mentioned the Forge. There are other ones that we'll be introducing over time. And your space is going to essentially be your base of operations for a lot of these type of activities.
Yeah, awesome, dude. Like, I'm pretty amazed. Like, like with like the whole concept of how you guys came up with this. But like, like from what I understand, like even you, Ari, like you're very hands-on. Like getting the research done. Figuring out like what games are actually doing now. And yeah, I'm just really amazed like how you implemented like whatever you feel is lacking in the space and creating your own spin on it. But I mean, yeah, I'm pretty curious. Like, are you like based on your own research and your own experience with other blockchain games, like what were the steps in like in actually like coming up with your own type of token economy?
Sure. I can't exactly point out to what the process was because it involved a lot of trial and error. Daniel and I and a lot of other people in the team researched what other people were doing and thought what was the best way to create an economy inside of our game. I think one of the leading principles was that we didn't want the game to devolve into anything that resembles pay to win. So we created this system in such a way that the core game loop continues being completely free to play. And most likely, the majority of people are going to enjoy the game to its fullest extent without requiring them to spend any money at all. Then we wanted this to be really fun. So we realized that we could basically have two modes to play the game, the free-to-play mode, and then another type where you have this special equipment, the hourglass, that allow you to enjoy the game as you typically would, except that you would be obtaining some token rewards or token loot. Other than that, I would say that there were a lot of conversations with people in several communities. Alexei, who's actually here with us, was an integral part of that. He actually um, was a bit of an inspiration because back in the day, I invited him to give a presentation to our team about the Axie play to earn economy, and I think a lot of our people got pretty inspired by that, and we got a lot of ideas. And around that time, it is that I think we started working on this.
I have to say I'm pretty flattered by that. So that was a very good call. I did enjoy that one. And by the looks of things, I'm really excited to see where it goes from that side. And I know obviously we had a call with Daniel as well, and really liked some of the look of the way your economic side is going. I mean, I know that there's probably like some stuff you maybe can and can't say, but I'd love to hear about like kind of economically, like what do you think is going to kind of set Big Time apart from the other kind of play to earn games to make it as sustainable as, if Daniel, if you wanted to answer that one.
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the major things that we kind of drew a line in the sand is that we don't want tokens and NFTs to be a requirement to play. It's very much we want this to be open to the mainstream gamer audience, and we knew that's a huge barrier to entry. Once we had that line in the sand, we said, okay, how do we want this economy to look like? And a big part of it is we wanted that any element of NFT or blockchain needs to be complementary to the game experience. And that had to do a lot with one, making sure if something terrible happens on the on the token side or like the NFT market side, it won't negatively impact the actual game. And at the same time, that if things are going really well in the game side, so players are really leveling up their skills and they're finding really rare NFTs, that's actually feeding into the blockchain market, the NFT market, and the blockchain space. So these are kind of like a couple of guidelines we wanted to use. And there are a number of different elements you kind of have to weigh in order to make that like interesting balance. So a few of them was like, hey, honestly, this token is going to have to be fair launch. We think it's the best way to go about this. We don't want people dumping tokens, after we launch or anything. And it's going to be completely earned by the community. And we're all pretty happy with that. A lot of people we spoke to kind of like their eyes widened up. It's like, you're not selling tokens. Like, nope, this is just earned by the community, and it's meant to be used in the game because we'll have some really cool syncs. And yeah, those are kind of like the starting points that where we began to build out the details of how that economy will look like. it really comes down to you're going to enjoy the game, you're going to play the game, you're going to play the game, you're going to play the game. And in that process, you're going to find good loot in the form of tokens and NFTs. And then that opens up access to some unique, cool features that you can use within space and as well as the overall world.
Awesome. And I suppose like moving from the kind of economic side to the kind of blockchain tech side again, I know we touched on some of the ways that like, because I think you guys are still going with ETH mainnet to my understanding, if you shifted there at all strategically. Are you guys still going with ETH mainnet, or have you shifted at all there on that side? Because obviously gas fees do seem to be something that's just not going away.
Yeah, the short answer is that we are building on Ethereum. However, users are not going to run into any of the complications that they run into as they're using Ethereum-based applications. And that's because we have created some sort of layer of abstraction on top of the blockchain so that users wouldn't need to interact with the blockchain directly. What we wanted to achieve was really providing the benefits of smart contract-based assets or NFTs, such as the scarcity and the transferability and the transparency and security, except that we realized that in order to achieve that, for most games, people are required to download and install external wallets, take care of their mnemonic phrase or risk losing all of their assets, and as you said, get priced out by gas fees. So the system we created is called the Vault. It's basically a minting and management system for NFTs and cryptocurrency. And it's going to allow us to put a lot of items in circulation without expecting people to know anything about crypto, without them having to have wallets or without having them spend on gas fees, except in the situation where they want to withdraw the asset and take it to an external application. So this way we get all the benefits, and I would say that probably 99% of the time people are not going to be taking it away of the platform, because they're going to be able to use the item inside of the game as well as on our marketplace. But if they want to do something more advanced, such as lending your NFT in a lending market or fractionalizing it or whatnot, at that point in time you would spend on gas fees. Also, having said that, even though we are initially working on Ethereum, we have already actually minted assets on BSC and Polygon, and users are going to have the ability to deposit those assets to our vault. And in the future, we're also looking to trend towards a more blockchain agnostic system where people will also be able to withdraw their assets to alternative chains or side chains or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, the idea is that we built something that would allow us to launch the game pretty soon without any of the barriers to entry that you typically encounter in blockchain games.
Yeah, so I suppose obviously one thing that's been a topic a few times obviously is how we'll be able to participate as guilds. I know obviously some of that might be kind of coming down the line, but as like other ways that like the community in the blockchain gaming guild will be able to earn. If we would cover that question again, we'd be interested to hear about like the kind of core mechanics for kind of earning within BIGTIME.
Sure, Daniel, would you like to take that?
Yeah, I can take that one. So the main way that the vast majority of players will find like NFT loot will just be creating their free account, creating their character, and just playing it as a traditional Diablo-esque type game experience. And everyone will have essentially the same chance of finding cool NFT loot. The other piece of the puzzle, which is what we've been working with YGG and what we did with the space sale, is this idea of having a lot of value-added activities for guilds and player organizations to interact with. The main way, especially early on during early access when we go public, is getting the hourglass from your timekeeper. right? So you can imagine, let's say you have a guild, very much used to World of Warcraft guild. Say you have a guild like 100 people, and obviously everyone's leveling up, they're getting strong gear. That guild's going to want to equip them with hourglasses because they're going to be playing the same amount, of time and the same game experience, but now they have a chance to find token loot. So that's probably one of the main ways. We have a number of other things that begin to interact a lot more with NFTs. So things that enhance NFTs. So you can imagine adding a cosmetic effect to an NFT like flames or ice. Things that, for example, if you have tokens, you can buy a unique set of rotating NFTs from an NPC vendor. There is also a feature we'll be introducing where you can partake in a challenge. And if you can, defeat the bosses and enemies, you deposit some tokens, you summon these really strong enemies. If you can defeat them, you have a chance of earning a unique NFT. So we really want to build on that area of NFTs more than anything as a nice form of loot, and just different ways of accessing different, essentially, lists of NFTs, right? As opposed to just one single way. We want to make sure that experience is very diversified for players.
Awesome. I mean, just jumping in like real quick. So I have a really cool question from the community. I mean, in terms of gameplay and content, I mean, you guys are pretty settled. You have your thing going on, and I mean, it's wonderful. I love it. But right, I'm gonna flash it on screen. So Wyatt is asking, here you go. So in terms of content, how do you keep big time? How do you keep the big time community active, and how do you think about long-term player loyalty? So how is your basically? I think what he's asking is like, is there enemy content that's gonna be that's gonna keep on coming, like updates, like chapters, like there's something like that down the pipeline.
Yeah, I can take this one. Yeah, we have a fantastic content roadmap built out for 5 years plus right now.
Okay.
So we have this cool mechanism called timeshares, which are our expansions. They're not like huge like World of Warcraft expansions. They're much more focused. They're more like instanced adventures that you go on in different time periods. We haven't announced it yet, but there is some concept art out there you'll see of a cowboys and dinosaurs world. So that'll kind of give you an idea of the type of expansions we'll be doing. So it's going to be really cool where we'll be able to take people to all these different time periods. One of the things we loved about the idea for Big Time as a time travel game was the idea that the players and the developers were never going to get bored. So that was one of the things, if you playing World of Warcraft for 2 decades, you're still into it. But if you're developing that game for 2 decades and all you're doing is elves and orcs, it really gets old. So the cool thing about Big Time is it's this grand tapestry across all of time and space where no one's ever going to get bored, be it a developer or a player, because we just have everywhere to go. It's so much fun to have.
Awesome. I mean, yeah, it's really good to hear. I mean, not only to mention, like your community, you have a very huge community. I mean, not only on Discord, but I mean, getting feedback also for the community. I mean, as well as YGG, how we do it is, I think it's very an important aspect of building any game, any project. I mean, so now I have actually read a comment on from our YouTube chat. So the big time chat is very pleased to hear how the devs care about the barrier to entry for blockchain gaming, and that you're very focused on inclusion and free gameplay. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's not all the games that are coming out, actually like think about the people who are going to be joining. Like most of them is they're focused on selling their NFTs. They're focused on whatever they have to sell to the community. But I mean, I think I also have a question for you. I mean, Saratobi. So what was the thought process, for YGG to finally, actually get into Big Time? And yeah, basically that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as Ari mentioned, there was some initially, when we found out about Big Time, it didn't necessarily seem, just at the very, very, very beginning, that it would have been as viable or made that as much sense. But obviously, as they kind of changed the kind of structuring back to being very much more of a kind of play to earn with some of the kind of more blockchain pieces, as Ari mentioned, after that conversation, and then obviously speaking to Daniel as well, at that point, it seemed like there was a very solid economy being built, and obviously it's this kind of, it's a big challenge as in the kind of blockchain gaming space, because games are hard to make without blockchain, and then games with blockchain just make it even exponentially harder again. So but from what we could see in kind of the YGG investment side, from my perspective, I could see like a really solid game, but with also like what looks like a very solid economy underpinning it, with some quite creative and different new kind of economic levers being leveraged that are a bit different to normal. So I'm really excited to see this one come out, and I think it looks to be one that's going to be very exciting for the guild space as a whole, and give a lot of kind of fun gameplay for our player base out there, which is obviously something that's not always there in every single blockchain game, unfortunately.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, man. Like, now I see the hype with guilds entering like different games all together. So, it's more of a concept of people entering at the same time, carrying the flag. Who's gonna be the first guild there? Who's gonna be like, who's gonna be the first three guilds battling in the game, racing to find those NFTs. So it's a whole new thing that's happening in this space. But yeah, it's really, really exciting. And I mean, it's good to see that we have a platform like Big Time actually giving it. I mean, there's a platform that's being given to the community, because in terms of MMORPG games, there are only a few that that are going to be launched pretty soon. And speaking of that, could you guys share with us a roadmap, an updated roadmap rather, that the community can look forward to?
Some of the big events happening in the near future are the launch of our own marketplace. Actually, that's going to happen in the next few days, where a new set of early access passes is going to be made available. Back in the day, we had a few NFT events, and those were hosted on third-party platforms. But we learned that in order to keep the accessibility like as good as possible, we needed to have our own platform where people could log in with their game account and without any external wallets or whatnot. And that really, we think that that's really going to impact our ability to onboard more people, even those outside of the blockchain space. So we're very happy about that. And the next event will be the space auction. We recently had a space pre-sale for a lot of the guilds, and now it's going to be the first public opportunity to buy the space. That should also be happening within a few days. Separately, we've been working on what we call the alpha testing phase, which is right now we are onboarding hundreds of players at a time to have them go through the game progression, and that's an opportunity for us to discover how much fun people are having, what things need to be changed, and get us prepared so that we can actually launch the game in early access, as we always committed to in early 2022. We're shooting for April, most likely. That's going to be the target date. And at that point in time, the owners of the early access passes, Gold, Silver, and Jade, are going to be able to join the game and start playing. And shortly thereafter, maybe mid Q2, we're going to have all the guild features baked into the product. That's actually going back to the accessibility point that someone asked about. We not only thought about the players and how to make it easier for them, but also how to make it easier for guilds to operate their guilds and to manage their assets and to manage perhaps any revenue sharing agreement that they may have with thousands of players. So with BigTime and the tech that we have built underneath, that's all going to be possible inside of the game. With regards to game roadmap, I'm not sure how much else we can disclose other than what's online.
All right, awesome. I mean, yeah, totally. Like, thanks for that. Like, totally appreciate you guys sharing, all these information with the community, especially for those of our avid followers. I've also seen, a lot of KOLs, like specifically like talking about big time like very more recently, so it just means like the hype is getting there and the word is getting out. I mean, like for the Filipino community, we already have our own guilds forming. YGG has our own guilds. It's just a huge anticipation for the game. So for everyone else at home, I'd like to invite everyone, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook, so we could ask them to our guests for tonight. We have just a couple of minutes left, so I'd highly advise and encourage everyone to take the time and get your questions out there. So Ari, actually for everyone, so I do know that I do understand that the community is exponentially growing. So what are you guys looking for? Any contributors? Like what kinds of talents are you looking for to join the to join the big time community, to join the big time team?
Lately, we've been looking for graphic designers, moderators, what else? Customer support representatives, QA testers, and then, of course, a lot of engineering, design, and product positions. We actually list all of our positions on our site. It's bigtime.gg/jobs. So if you're interested, please drop by and you can see all the positions that we have open. I think it's about 15 of them right now.
Awesome. So yeah, you heard it first, right from Ari himself. Yeah, I mean, Saratobi, do you have any more questions for our guests tonight?
Yeah, no, look, I suppose it's just for me, I'm just in anticipation of getting into the game and participating, and getting some of those assets and items and exploring the worlds. And I definitely, from the sounds of things, some of those historical mashups are pretty crazy. It sounds like they're a little bit different from your typical. Actually, do you know what? Actually, I don't know. Here's a question: have anyone in the audience played Time Splitters? Or anyone in the any Ari or Thor or Daniel, have any of you played Time Splitters?
I haven't.
PlayStation 2?
No, not me.
No. Oh, that was a classic game. it just ran because obviously in that game you basically travel through time, and you're sometimes in like cowboy lands, and then there's like aliens coming at the end and you have to fight them. So it kind of gave me reminiscence of that though. So yeah, super excited to have a bit of like historical mashups there, and we'll have to figure out who this. There's a question for you. Can anyone we'll have to make some sort of competition out there. Can anyone in the audience guess which historical figure is going to end up being the Shadow Blade teacher character? That would be if anyone can get that. We'll have to see if anyone could get that. I'll be very interested to see what people in the audience think, because I definitely would like to know the answer to that question anyway.
Yeah, I mean, actually, also you have a very interesting question here flashed on screen. So I myself, I actually like purchased a couple of passes. It's on Binance, but yeah, is there any other features that we could get from these passes after it's released, or is this something that you can't disclose yet?
No, the reality, we thought of these passes as a way to give early access into the game. So you can think of this as an opportunity to enjoy the game before others, but also get in front of all those cool NFT drops before others and before the floodgates get in. So provided that those are limited edition, the value of the early access passes to some extent, the fact that you can, collect all of those items without as much competition.
Yeah, I mean, so from what I understand, it's also like in YGG we have the founders coin. So these early access passes, NFTs also act as these like founders NFTs or founders tokens. From what I understand, right?
Yeah, it could. It's gonna serve as a, let's call it, badge of honor.
Awesome. Yeah, pretty awesome. I mean, but yeah, I mean, as NFTs, there are limited possibilities for anything that's going to be happening in big time. So, like for everyone at home, we are about to go in a few more minutes. So, if you guys have questions, drop them right now. But like for me personally, and it's been an honor. It's been a really great experience again to have you guys on our AMA, and once again, get to blast out all the upcoming news to our communities. So, I mean, Ari, do you guys have any? For you first, do you have any message to the YGG community?
Well, thanks for your support and for being here and for all the questions. And thanks to all the YGG leadership for believing in us and supporting us with this NFT pre-sale. For everyone else that would like to get involved, our marketplace is launching within a few days, and the first space NFT auction is going to go live also within a few days, early December for sure. So stay tuned.
Exciting
All right,
stuff.
awesome. How about you, Thor? Any words for the YGG community?
Yeah, I would just like to say that we're super honored by the fact that you guys are on board so early and so interested in our game. And we just want to make sure that we make a product that you guys really love.
Yeah, sounds good, man. I mean, glad to have you guys here, of course, anytime. How about you, Daniel?
I think all I can really say is everything we've talked about is really the tip of the iceberg. And like Thor said, we have a 5-year content plan. This is going to be a live game. So everything you guys have seen so far is really just the beginning of the game. So we're really excited to be able to show more in the coming months.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, for everyone at home, there you have it, our very special guests for tonight's AMA. And yeah, for everyone at home, everyone on Discord, you know how it goes. After the AMA, we're going to be asking like a few questions about what happened tonight, and we're going to be giving away some YGG merch for those who could answer. I mean, yeah, Saratobi, take the stage, my friend.
Yeah. Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah, don't forget we're obviously going to have as we finish up. Don't forget that you can stay up to date with everything that's going on in the Discord and the Big Time Discord, and follow them on Twitter. And we're going to have some dedicated members of the Big Time community in the YGG server for anyone with questions. And thanks so much, guys, for coming on, and thanks, John, obviously for co-hosting another epic AMA, and thanks so much to our guests for coming on board. And hopefully the next one will be that we'll be having will be as and when the game will be releasing, and we'll have to do some streaming of Big Time with the YGG community.
Awesome. All right. Thanks,
Thanks
guys.
a lot, guys, for organizing. Great being here.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
guys. See you soon. Bye bye.
Take care.
Bye.